many companies have you started?
It will certainly run into double figures.
So what's your experience of the act of wealth creation?
It's an embarrassing term, but I can understand why it's probably a good descriptor of folk who do things outside of the box. It puzzled me for an awful long time why I seem to work a lot differently to others, for a start. In some respects, I saw other people working hard, furrowed brows and so on, and I was kind of breezing through. I'd put long hours in and I'd be doing all sorts of different things, but because I was never focusing on any conveyor belt in front of me of actions, I was always doing random, new, different things, and I ended up with another business.
What's your experience of being a wealth creator?
It's random, shambolic, but interesting.
What differentiates wealth creators from other workers?
Well, they take more risks. They're more driven. They're certainly more driven. They've got that inner belief that they're going to find a solution. Others assume that someone else will solve the particular problem, or they can follow some guideline that deals with the problem. Where the wealth creator will say, oh, there's no rules covering this. Doesn't matter. I'm going this way.
How do you behave differently from other people?
I've never really analysed how I'm different. I kind of eventually started to accept I must be a bit different. I kind of completely comfortably do things that other people are clearly uncomfortable about. To some, that might come across as arrogance, because I will say what I think, even though I've got no real foundation for saying it. But if I have a hunch, I will look at that hunch and I'll pursue it. So I'm very much more open-minded than most, I guess. I question conventional thinking constantly. I don't care how big the authority is. If I think there's a better way, I will say so. And if I find that better way, I'll believe in it and try and develop it. Actually, what doesn't come into my mind is wealth creation. What comes into my mind is that I think I can improve something and make it an awful lot better.
I gather you look for people who are hungry. What is it that you mean by that?
I look for people that don't stop at obstacles. If they see an amber light, they go through it. In fact, I would love to interview key people by just driving behind them for an hour in the car. And if they join a queue, they don't get the job. If they find the shortest queue, or if they take a detour rather than join a queue, or if they'll drive over an amber light, so long as it's safe, they're in with a chance. They've ticked one major box. So hunger, it's about not being constrained by conventional thinking. It's if there's a rule there that needs to be broken because there's an important outcome, if you do break it, then take that risk. That's what I call hunger. It's people that set their own goals. Some people, if you set a goal, they'll just about reach it month after month. The folk that are really hungry set their own goals and then they go through and beat them. That's hunger. And we see it in the developing world. I've done a lot of work in Hong Kong and the Far East, and you see so many there. They had nothing when they grew up, and they've got this hunger. They've got this stick and a carrot, and they're chasing that carrot. And they'll probably do that the whole of their lives, and they're just having fun. Maybe some of them are frustrated, I don't know, but I see a lot of them are having an awful lot of fun. They work hard, they play hard, and they never stop. And they're always going for a deal. They're almost irritating. You can't have a dinner party with them. You can't go to a football match with them because they're always grabbing the next deal. They're networking and so on. That's hunger, that's drive, and I like it. I had a young guy, he was 18, completely uneducated. His sales director regarded him as a threat. This was a young lad. He was a bit rebellious, got fantastic sales figures even at 18. He'd lied to get in the company, because he joined us at 16 when the minimum age was 18 for that road. He lied and he got in and he did a fantastic job. And when he got to 18, he was doing such a great job. I was watching this guy, and his sales director said, oh, he's a maverick. Can't have him. He's got to go. So I said, on the contrary, I want you to promote him. I want to make him an external salesman. Oh, he can't do that. He can hardly drive. I said, well, we'll teach him to drive. At the age of 24, I needed a Far East sales director. Now, this was a guy that had never been outside of his patch. He'd never been to a Chinese restaurant, and I started telling him I want a Far East sales director. That was 18 years ago, and he is now running his own very successful business in Hong Kong and Middle East. Very successful. So that's just one example. I could give you loads.